Hello, welcome to Yoga with Barbara. We're going to practice a Yin class today. So we're going to begin by sitting quietly, coming into peace and quiet and stillness. Just find a comfortable position for yourself. It could be sitting with your legs crossed, but any way will do. While you're sitting, just become aware of a kind of symmetry and uprightness, and check that nothing feels as if it's painful at all. This is going to apply for the whole of the class. No nerve type pain, no pins and needles. You might at times get a feeling of like a dull ache, but not painful. Definitely not intolerable. If you feel anything that's painful or intolerable, move away from the pose and just gradually find your appropriate edge. The idea is not to go straight into something which feels too intense, but to go to a point where you've got some room for manoeuvre. While you're sitting quietly, also bring all of your awareness inside of yourself. It's difficult, and we do it by using the breath. Just begin to breathe in and out through your nose, and close your eyes. It's good to set an intention for the class, and an intention ideally is in the present tense. A few simple words. For example, I give myself some time out. And then repeat whatever your choice of intention is. Repeat it 3 times so it sinks deeply into your mind. I'm also setting a timer today as well as setting an intention, and the timer is going to be for 3 minutes. So there'll be a little bit of an explanation about the posture, and then the timer will be for 3 minutes each pose. If you need to move out of the posture before then, it's fine. I'm going to ask you to pause if you feel the urge to move, and just ask yourself why. We're so busy that sometimes we can't cope with sitting silently. We can't cope with the me time aspect of it. And so sometimes we're not really moving because the posture's uncomfortable, but what's going on in our minds and our feelings is a bit uncomfortable. So if you ask yourself why, and if the pose isn't painful, then try and sit with it, because it's all part of the experience. Meditating in a posture and just allowing ourselves the luxury of the time out. So let's move in to our first posture, which is in fact going to be Shavasana, which we would normally have at the end of a yoga class. And Shavasana, lying down on our backs, playing dead, corpse pose. So find a comfortable position flat, and if you need slight bend of the knee or a little bit of support under the knee with a blanket or a bolster, position that there. You'll see there are a few props that I've just got near to me. Bolster, blankets, blocks, a wheel, and as many cushions as you like. So lying down, bring the hands onto the abdomen and just have the fingers on the navel. flatten and widen the body. Bring your awareness inside. Listen to the sound of your own breath. Notice the movements that are occurring in the chest, in the abdomen, and the sensations in the nose and the pharynx. Our body is being reset in what I would describe as perfect posture. If we were standing, the head would be above our pelvis above our feet, shoulders down, shoulders back. And we come back to this at the end, because after a period of stretch, then we're more able to find that symmetry without it feeling uncomfortable. Remember, if your lower back doesn't like to be in this completely flat position, just bend your knees. Slide something underneath your knees until it feels right. The timer will make a sound. We'll get used to it over the class. We're going into our last 10 seconds now. So that signals time to take a deep breath, but no sudden movements. Think about moving and then slowly bend your knees. So there is no rush to get from one pose to the next. We're going to roll over onto our side, come up onto hands and knees, and then let the bottom go back onto the heels in child's pose. This is child's pose. Bottom down. Curling the spine around the thighs, tucking the chin in. And you can see that there's room for maybe a little prop. And if you find that it's uncomfortable behind the knees, blocks can go behind the knees as well. Drop into the pose rather than push or force anything, and release and relax what you can about your body. Start with your face, release around the forehead, corners of the eyes, cheeks and jaw. Follow the breath in and out so the chest relaxes. And this is a pose of rest and digest. Stimulates the parasympathetic nervous system, so the opposite of fight or flight. As you breathe, you can feel your thighs pressing against your ascending and descending colon, and that forms a really lovely abdominal massage. Stay aware of that. In this particular practice, we're looking at two of the meridians. One is the small intestine meridian and the other the heart meridian. And what you can feel sometimes is a little bit of pressure over the area, bit of compression, but no pain. And if you become aware of that, the energy centers, the chakras and the meridians become more free, and energy can flow around the body with much more ease. So we have certain practices which help that to take place. Just stay aware all the time of the impact of the breath on the different parts of the body. How you feel afterwards and how you feel while you're in the pose as well, making any little adjustments that you need to do, and then being still. Again, taking a slow breath there as you uncurl. And we're going to move into an opposing pose to that. Forward fold, forward bend. And we're going into Sphinx pose now. So if you come up onto your knees and then slide forwards, shoulders underneath, palms together. Feel as if this activation is here in the back. So when you relax what you can, you relax your shoulders, and if you want to relax your head, just relax your head down. That can include props if you want to. You can have things like this, just to rest your forehead on. Whatever you feel is good for you. And that's Sphinx pose. Legs can be a little bit apart, toes down, or you can rest the tops of your toes there. Choose what feels good, and you're approaching your appropriate edge, which, if you recall, will be maybe a slight dull ache, but no sharp pains, no nerve pains, no pins and needles. A feeling that there's a little bit of compression and stretch. That's mechanical stress. And that is what enables those connective tissues in between the joints to very slowly just begin to come apart. Just stretching easily without any forcing and no sudden movements. I do like to think about it like moulding plasticine. We would do that very, very slowly, wouldn't we? And just slowly move things apart. And it's not like pulling an it's not like pulling an elastic band. It's a slow, soft increase of tension. And Sphinx pose elongates the front of the spine and the front of the body, and the back of the spine is where you've got that bit of shortening. Chest is open. If you're familiar with the chakras, Anahata chakra in the heart center being activated, Manipura, solar plexus around the navel, Vishuddhi in the throat. Let the breath be easy. If the breath starts to feel as if it's a struggle, maybe reduce the intensity of that pose just enough so that your breath becomes really fluid again. If the breath becomes jerky, that's a sure sign that you may have just gone over your appropriate edge. We're looking for sweet discomfort, the kind of sweet discomfort that tells us that it's healthy what we're doing. instead of coming out of the back bend like this, we're going to do seal pose. So from your Sphinx pose, if you straighten your arms, so Sphinx is here, just straighten your arms and lift. You can turn your hands outwards slightly, and you can relax your shoulders and relax your head. Put a prop underneath your forehead if you need to. If this is too intense, slide the hands further forwards, and if you feel as if it's possible for you to come a little bit deeper, just take the hands a tiny bit back. And again, just enjoy that feeling of opening up your chest and articulating vertebrae deep inside of your spine. There is no pressure at all to hold this for the whole of the timer. So if you find that you want to come back down onto your forearms and go back into Sphinx pose, just feel free. You're listening to your own body and you're doing what feels best for you. There's no competition going on here. No need to compare yourself with anybody else, and no need to compare with the last time you did it either, because we change from day to day. We change from morning to night. So whatever it is you're doing, tune in to what's absolutely in your best interests. I'll just read a little bit for you about the 2 meridians that we're looking at today. The small intestine meridian begins in the little fingers, runs up the outer arm to the shoulder, and then splits into 2 branches. One that goes to the heart, diaphragm, and down through the stomach into the small intestine, and one that goes up to the face, to the eye, and across to the ear. And the heart meridian originates in the heart, spreads over the heart tissues. One branch goes down through the chest into the diaphragm and connects with the small intestine. One runs up the throat to the eye, and one runs down the arm to the little fingers. So as you're in this pose, try to visualize the branches that you can experience compression or gentle pulling. As well as these 2 meridians, we've got the element fire. I'll talk to you about that in a little while. But there is a sequence which we would practice, which is for the element fire, as well as these 2 meridians. Okay, so slowly lie down, so you're in prone shavasana just for a moment. You can bring your hands underneath your forehead and just lie there flat. And then we're going to go back into our child's pose, but take the knees apart this time. So come up onto your hands and knees. Take the knees apart, big toes touch, bottom goes back, prop under your bottom if you need to, head comes down, prop under your forehead if you need to, and choose where your arms feel most comfortable, in front or behind. relaxing what you can. Your face, your jaw, your shoulders. Tune into your breath. Just notice the slight difference in the sensation between this and the one where the legs were in front, full on pressure onto your abdominals. Notice a little bit of difference in the lower back. And staying in this wide leg child's pose, just take your arms in front and slide your right arm underneath the left arm and just bring the left arm around your back. So your left shoulder lifts, your right shoulder drops down towards the floor. Notice that sensation around the shoulder, where we've found that the meridians follow up and down towards the little fingers. And then come slowly back with that right hand and change over. Left hand goes underneath the right and the right hand coming back onto your back. So this time lifting your shoulder up. Checking in with the breath all the time. And just come slowly back to the centre and stay in child's pose with wide legs just for a few more seconds. Realigning the spine in the centre and then slowly uncurl and sit up and take your legs wide apart. Sometimes that's referred to as straddle, and sometimes it's referred to as dragonfly. So that pose, the wide leg pose, clearly it's stimulating the meridians that go down the legs. So not so much the ones that we're focusing on here, but notice there is a little bit of elongation of those tissues in the inner thigh, so a little bit of pressure around the energetic centres there. What we're going to do is lean over onto our right thigh, and instead of reaching for the foot as we might do in other practices, we're dropping a bolster or something quite high onto the thigh, relaxing the arms and just allowing the head to drop down. Even that might be not quite high enough, so you could stack up blocks and just rest your forehead there. Notice how your lower back is feeling and enjoy the feeling of curling around instead of an intense fold that you might be familiar with in other practices. In other practices it's really good because we're supposed to engage muscle, but in the yin practice we're deliberately trying to target those connective tissues which are deeper. Takes a little bit longer. We don't have to go so forcefully. You can go really slowly and easily, and then we're holding them there. Feel a little bit of pressure on this middle area here where the small intestine meridian is. Just notice. You might find something's a bit more intense on one side than the other. Keep your awareness there. And then very slowly uncurl from that. Take a lovely long slow breath in. Bolster goes to the other side, and then you just turn towards that side. Same again, maybe a bit of extra propping, as much as you need, whatever you need, and then curl. Chin tucks in, forehead comes down, and as you're lowering and dropping your forehead down there, you're noticing the parts of your body that are being activated. I'm just going to say a few words about the things that some people complain of in yin, and one of them is boredom, and another is irritation. Another is a compulsion to get out of the pose. And all of those are absolutely normal. So you're dropping into this pose. You might have chaotic stuff happening in your head because you're desperate to check your phone or to check that something hasn't changed. And all we need to do in yin is take that deep breath in. Pause and just ask, do I need to move? Is this just the challenge that I'm experiencing because I'm attempting to take time out? You might find that you are, that you do need to move, but check. Don't do it immediately you get that feeling. Pause first. And if that confused feeling, the chaotic feeling that you get is actually a result of pain, then clearly after you've thought it through, you change your posture so that you feel more comfortable and then drop into it again. Don't be afraid of any of these things. We're not trying to suppress anything. We're trying to sit with whatever comes up. And if it's a mental thought, if it's a feeling emotionally, or if it's a physical discomfort, then we need to think about it, address it, decide what to do. Sit with it, or change something so that we can rest and be still and hold the posture for that little bit longer. into our next pose slowly. Breathe in first, slowly uncurl, push your props out of the way, return to the centre, bring the legs together. It's going to be another forward bend, but this time with the legs together. And in Yin, it's called caterpillar. Think about the caterpillar being in segments and being able to curl like that, round like that, rather than something that we may have been familiar with in other practices where we've lengthened, stretched, muscular, and then folded. So we're not folding from the hips with this one. Again, it's a nice, gentle bend forwards. So find your position. Maybe this again, bolster and a bit of a stack. And we're not reaching and stretching or forcing, we're draping. So chin comes in, forehead goes down. And if you feel as if that's too high, remove one, still too high, remove two, and you just move into something that feels right. So that stretch that doesn't hurt, but it feels exactly as it is, as if there's an elongation on one side and a bit of pressure on the other side, stimulating, activating. Thinking about the element. When our fire element is balanced, we feel passion, we feel connection with people, connection with the universe. And when it's unbalanced, we experience anxiety, irritation, insomnia. So if we notice that we're feeling unbalanced, then there are practices like this that we can move into which help to balance things out. And there are also things to eat and drink which help. If you can think about the fire element needing cooling, could be that we need cooling foods. So eating cucumber, watermelon, drinking a little bit more water, avoiding spicy foods. Just be aware and be kind, full of self-compassion. Ahimsa is not just about being kind to others, it's very much about being kind to ourselves too. Very, very slowly coming up, moving the props out of the way. We're going to do a supported fish pose. And I like to do this with a bolster, but you can do it with a rolled up mat. You can do it with rolled up cushions and pillows. Remember, with fish pose, the hips are down on the floor and underneath the shoulder blades lifted. So it's the thoracic spine which is opening. So if you put your bolster across your mat and then keeping your bottom down on the floor, just gently allow yourself to roll back. And if to start with you need to have some blocks underneath your head, that's good. Anything underneath your arms to support your arms, that's good too. And if you like the cactus arms, just bend at your elbows. Relaxing what you can, bottom down on the floor, feet rolling slightly outwards. Noticing both the branches of the meridians that are coming across your shoulders and also what's happening deep down in your back. And this part of your chest is open, aware of the effect on the small intestine meridian, the heart meridian, all the way down to the little fingers. So even just having the arms back like that brings your awareness into that part of your body. Stay with the breath and the self-inquiry. How am I feeling? Am I desperate to get out of this? Shall I pause and ask myself why? Shall I stay with this feeling? Or shall I make some adjustments and then settle? Notice the stretch over the area of Vishuddhi chakra. Anahata, Manipura. Lovely, long, slow, deep breath in. So if you bend your knees and put your feet down on the floor, you can lift your bottom a little bit like when you do shoulder bridge and just move the bolster out to the side. Lie on your back, draw your knees in, so you're in Apanasana, which is the abdomen pose, and lying on your back, you just bring your thighs in towards you. It's like the child's pose, but just lying on your back. And you can lift your head if you want to, bring your forehead in towards your knees, or you can just leave your head and shoulders down. Draw the legs in a little bit further. And then just put your feet down onto the floor. And our final pose before we do Shavasana is on each side, a supine spinal twist. So, bending your knees, feet together, taking your arms out to the sides, taking a deep breath in, and just allowing your knees to drop over to the right. Think about your shoulders staying pretty much flat on the floor. And if your knees have gone so far over that you've lifted a shoulder blade, just bring your knees back up and slide some cushions or a bolster underneath so that you're able to rest your legs. You're not forcing them down towards the floor. Shoulder blades can stay where they are. And because the supine spinal twists are asymmetrical, you will find that the compression is on one side and the elongation or the pulling is on the other. So become aware of where you can feel it. And again, it's how do I feel? Is this feeling good? Is this comfortable? Is it at my appropriate edge? Have I gone too far? Make the adjustments and then rest, just allowing yourself to drop into where it feels most appropriate for you. Manipura means many jewelled, that area in the middle where the solar plexus is. So it's obviously a very precious area, an area that governs our self-confidence, self-assurance. If we feel unbalanced in that area, we're lacking in the confidence. And these movements, they're twisting in order to activate, move, unblock anything that's clogging up our energy flow. With the arms out, you can also feel a nice stretch across here. So the body is being moved in all the various different planes, and you're holding things for a considerable length of time, having quite an impact on that deep connective tissue, particularly the fascia. Lovely deep breath. No sudden movements, but when you're ready, knees come up to the centre. Just stay in the centre while you slide your shoulder blades down. Just gently tilt your pelvis backwards and forwards. Feel a little bit of realignment. And then we'll go again. And we go to the other side. So allow your knees to go down to the left and just allow your shoulder blades to stay flat on the floor with your arms out. Just read from Sarah Power's book in her section on Manipura. She says this area houses the seat of our willpower, our creative energy, our imagination, but it is also the area that governs our digestion, rules the digestive meridians, including those of the stomach, the spleen, the liver, and the gallbladder. A lot happening in that area. Many jewels, or filled with jewels, Manipura. Maybe you can notice already there's a little bit of difference between the sides. We have a dominant side and we sometimes have a side that's been injured or not, but there may be reasons why there's more tension on one side than the other. Just become aware of that. Once you're aware of it, it's quite useful to start on the most open side, the side which doesn't give you any issues. Because during that practice, your body's getting accustomed to what's expected. So by the time you move to the other side, there's a little bit more openness in there. Keep thinking about releasing everything that you can release elsewhere in the body. So check through every time you do it. Check your fingers. No white knuckle time. Check your toes. Face. Some of us even clench our teeth. Just let the bottom set of teeth drop away. So you have a loose lower jaw. You can feel the area that's tense, and you can feel the area that's being elongated, and everything else either side of that we can let go of. Okay, so that's our last small intestine and heart movement. All that's left for us to do now is to bring the knees up, slide the legs down, cover up with a blanket, make sure your feet are nice and warm, and return to our supine Shavasana. So I'm going to put the hands on the abdomen with the fingers touching. So with that, we're just having contact with the area around Manipura chakra, the area around the small intestines. Sometimes that's where our inner fire is said to be situated, Agni. So just having contact there, keeping our awareness in the kind of practice that we've done. And checking symmetry, chin tucked in, back of the neck, front of the neck, both long, crown of the head moving away. So we have a feeling of neither stretching nor contracting front or back. Shoulders down, shoulder blades sliding down. Everything perfectly balanced either side of your spine, your midline. So that feeling of balance is important, because after the deep stretches, deep into the fascia, what we're doing now is allowing that plasticine that we've been moulding to set in place as it should be, or nearer to where it should be, if we're just starting out with this practice. So Shavasana is very important. Listening to your own breath again. Meditating on the chakras. At the very bottom of your spine, at your tailbone, Muladhara. Sacrum, Svadhisthana. Navel, Manipura. Heart center, Anahata. Throat center, Vishuddhi. Eyebrow center, Ajna. And the crown chakra, Sahasrara. Just have an awareness of where they are. You can visualize them as being deep inside of the spine, clearly with impact elsewhere because of the feeling that we have around the front of the body, even though they're situated in the spinal cord. We might have very specific feelings, we might even be able to see colours. But just stay meditating on the chakras. You may want to visualize the energy rising up through all of the chakras to the crown as a white light, and a many-coloured fountain coming from Sahasrara and down. Or you might feel inclined towards one colour, dark red, orange, yellow, green, purple, bright red. Just see it how you feel. Taking a lovely deep breath in now. Letting the breath go. Wriggling your fingers, wriggling your toes, bending your knees and bringing your feet flat onto the floor. We're rolling over to the left side in a yin practice. And then coming slowly up to sitting, finding a comfortable sitting position again. Bringing the palms of your hands together and your thumbs onto your breastbone. May you be well. May you be happy. May you be filled with loving kindness. Thank you so much, everybody. Namaste.